Today in the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by LaughingPlace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on May 1st, 2024, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. The Disneyland Resort going all out for Pixar Fest, a Wreck-It Ralph ride coming to Tokyo, a step forward for DisneylandForward, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Walt Disney World has announced dates for the 2024 International Food and Wine Festival. This year's event will run from August 29th through November 23rd. Notably, that start date is nearly a month later than 2023's festival, while the end date is in line with last year's. The resort also teased a few details for the upcoming event. For one, with Communicore Hall set to open on June 10th, the new space will add exciting, fresh elements to the festival. Meanwhile, some favorite features such as the Eat to the Beat concert series and Remy's Ratatouille Hide and Squeak will return. With several months to go before August, expect to hear more about this year's EPCOT International Food and Wine Festival offerings in future House of Mouse headlines. Guests visiting Disneyland Park can get a small taste of the Haunted Mansion while it's closed for refurbishment, if they have a Magic Band Plus, that is. As work continues on the new extended queue area for the attraction, Magic Band Plus touch points are now embedded on the construction walls, prompting guests with the accessory to go up and tap their band. When doing so, iconic sound effects from the classic attraction will play. No reopening date for the Haunted Mansion has been announced just yet, but hopefully it, along with a new queue area and gift shop, will arrive later this year. Some fan-favorite guided tours are returning to Disneyland. First, there's the Cultivating the Magic guided tour, where guests can learn more about how the plants and flowers at the Disneyland Resort play a key role in storytelling, from the cheerful flower beds in Town Square to the exotic plants guests will encounter on Jungle Cruise. Additionally, the Disneyland Railroad guided tour is returning, taking guests on a journey to learn about Walt Disney's passion for trains and how it shaped the Disneyland Resort. Plus, as part of this particular tour, guests will get to climb aboard Disneyland Railroad's special presidential car, the Lily Bell. Guests can now book these guided tours for select dates starting May 11th. An extremely popular item from Hong Kong Disneyland has made its way to a domestic Disney resort. Create your own headbands are now available at Disneyland. As the name implies, this option allows guests to choose a headband and then customize it with mini plush accessories depicting numerous Disney characters. At launch, the list of available characters includes Woody, Buzz, Lotso, Little Green Alien, The Sensational Six, Winnie the Pooh, Stitch, and more. The Create Your Own headbands and separately sold mini plush accessories are available at the Mad Hatter on Main Street, USA in Disneyland Park, and Bing Bong's Sweet Stuff in Pixar Pier at Disney California Adventure. After a marathon multi-hour meeting, the Anaheim City Council voted unanimously in favor of the DisneylandForward project. As a reminder, this plan would essentially allow the Disneyland Resort to use its existing land as it sees fit, instead of needing to stick to the previous zoning. One expansion that's been teased for the resort is an Avatar experience, which has seemingly been contingent on the passage of DisneylandForward. On that note, despite the affirmative vote, it's still not 100% official yet. Instead, the council will vote again on May 7th. If it passes then, the changes could take 30 days to go into effect. Still, there seems to be good news ahead for the Disneyland Resort. Marvel's Season of Superheroes has kicked off at Hong Kong Disneyland with two exciting new shows, delicious food and beverage offerings, heroic new merchandise, and more. During the day, guests can catch Find Your Superpower, Battle for Stark Expo, and help their favorite superheroes protect the Arc Reactor from Hydra. Then at night, Find Your Superpower, Battle in the Sky not only includes several heroes rallying together, but also features drones. These entertainment offerings, as well as the specialty food and merch, join the existing Marvel attractions in the Stark Expo area of Tomorrowland. Marvel's Season of Superheroes runs through June 10th at Hong Kong Disneyland. As summer approaches, Disneyland Paris is already looking forward to this fall and winter. The resort has announced that Disney Halloween Festival will return from October 1st to November 3rd, followed by Disney Enchanted Christmas, which will run from November 9th to January 6th. Details for these two holiday celebrations have yet to be announced, but guests can surely expect special decor, entertainment, dining delights, merchandise, and more during each season. In the meantime, mark your calendars if you plan on experiencing either of these special times at Disneyland Paris. Disneyland Paris has awarded a prestigious window on Main Street, USA to Imagineer Sylvie Massara, who has been with the creative group for 35 years. Massara joined Walt Disney Imagineering in 1988 during the construction of Euro Disney. Throughout her career, Sylvie Massara helped design the resort's second theme park, Walt Disney Studios, soon to be renamed Disney Adventure World, as well as its resort hotels, including the recent transformation of the Disneyland Hotel. Guests will see Sylvie Massara's window at the beginning of Main Street above the Ribbons and Bows hat shop on a window that reads, New Century Interiors, Sylvie Massara, Proprietor, All-Time Designs for All Times. The Beatles are returning to Disney Plus with their 1970 film, Let It Be. Michael Lindsay Hogg's landmark documentary will begin streaming exclusively on the platform this month. The film, which hasn't been available in over 50 years, was initially released in May 1970 amidst the band's breakup. Like the footage used for The Beatles Get Back, Let It Be has now been restored by Peter Jackson's Park Road post-production. Fans can finally catch Let It Be once again when it debuts on Disney Plus on May 8th. The upcoming Space Mountain movie has found its writers. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec have been given the task of writing the project. Previously, the duo has worked on both Amazon's Citadel and Netflix's live-action Cowboy Bebop. Since the attraction has multiple iterations and a lack of key characters throughout, the pair basically have free rein when writing the film. No plot details have been revealed for the project, but perhaps we'll hear more about this attraction-inspired film in the coming months. And now it's time to bring back Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Just got back from C2E2, my favorite comic convention show, and now I get to join you, so it's been quite a week.
You love C2E2, and I ask you every year, what does C2E2 stand for?
Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo.
Okay, so Chicago Comic C2 E2 Entertainment Expo. I get it, C2E2. Is that like the official name they give it, or is that like a DCA sort of? Oh, okay.
No, it's official. It's on all the banners and everything. That is the name of the show. Just so that people will ask, what is C2E2?
There you go. So is there anything that was announced that's Disney related or anything that just excited you?
So sometimes there's like little announcements. Sometimes it's just cool to see people. Christopher Lloyd was at this convention, so that was cool to see him because he is very old. Paige O'Hara was supposed to be there, but unfortunately she got bronchitis, so she was unable to make it. But there was still a panel with a person whose name I just forgot, and I also didn't get to go to his panel, but Becca did, and the voice of Gaston.
Very nice. Yeah, Christopher Lloyd, oh man, love him. Love him so much. His son has taken over his social media, and so it's really nice because like we get regular updates from Christopher Lloyd now because, you know, it's video of Christopher Lloyd talking to camera and stuff, but his son makes sure that there's regular content that comes out. So honestly, I think Christopher Lloyd, I'm not going to say this for certain. I'd have to really look at the resume to make a decision here, but I think possibly eligible for a Disney Legend status, in my opinion.
You know, when we were thinking about it, because obviously best known for Taxi and Back to the Future, in our world, Back to the Future. But the more I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, he's in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Totally forgot about that. Angels in the Outfield, Camp Nowhere, My Favorite Martian even. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a case to be made there, even if he's more associated with a different studio's property.
Yeah, I think we should consider this 2 years from now. I'll write some letters. Let's do it. All right, here we go with the current news. Pixar Fest has returned to Disneyland Resort for the first time since 2018. Now, this is kind of interesting. 2018 was the first year of Pixar Fest. This is only the second time it's happened at the Disneyland Resort. In 2018, it was kind of to go in conjunction with the opening of Pixar Pier, the reimagining of Paradise Pier at Disney California Adventure. But for a while there, I thought in my head, I was like, oh, I know it never returned. I kind of just innately blamed the pandemic on it. But no, 2019, there was the decision to not bring it back for some reason or another. So this is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, and it feels like they didn't just do it again. I feel like we'll get into it, but I'm really surprised with what they've done so far with this one.
Yeah, so it was a big celebration. I went for the media day. I was covering it for Attractions Magazine. Our pal Mike Celestino was there covering it for laughingplace.com. And there was a lot. First of all, I will say they made this a 2-day media event, which was completely unnecessary because although there was a lot to do, it's like for the holidays when we go cover Halloween and Christmas, there's way more to do. And they make us do all of that in one day. So why they made this a 2-day event, I don't really know. And frankly, it was frustrating. Honestly, I only attended the first day because I was like, I'm not fighting that traffic twice. So yeah, it was weird, but there was a lot. Shall we jump into it?
Yes.
Let's start with the entertainment because that's my favorite part. There's the Pixar Pals Playtime Party. This is happening at the Fantasyland Theater, so this is What We Lost, Tale of the Lion King 4. And this is basically games, activities, Pixar shorts being shown, and photo ops, and as well as a bit of a stage show as well. I didn't get to experience this, but this is kind of geared toward the younger audience, and I believe there's some characters there as well, correct?
Yeah, so it's kind of... There's some different dancing, group dance party type stuff. Not just like playing a DJ stuff, like the sort of like engaging, I don't know if they're original songs, but like that sort of thing. But then there are some meet and greets. There's, that's where the Barley brothers are from Onward, and I think some Bugs Life stuff. And there's another one. Oh, the Luca.
Is this where Luca is?
I believe so.
Very cool. So yeah, that's happening over at the Fantasyland Theater. So that's over at Disneyland Resort and over at Disney California. Actually, yeah, through Disney California Adventure, we get a new parade, a new daytime parade at Disney California Adventure. It's been a hot minute. I can't remember what the last one was. I know there were like parades for Oogie Boogie Bash and stuff, but as far as like regular park hours,
just Play Parade,
which was a while ago at this point, it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they brought it. I don't remember the last time it played, but I remember it's been a long, long time since it debuted.
Yeah. So Better Together, a Pixar Pals celebration. It's the return of a daytime parade at Disney California Adventure. We get some brand new floats and characters featuring Turning Red with Four Town. I remember a while back when we were all very excited to see the auditions come out for the Four Town characters. It was for this, no pun intended. We had a Luca float. We had a Soul float. And yeah, it was a pretty cute parade. And then there were some floats that people will recognize from various previous iterations of this. But there were, a good amount of brand new floats, brand new characters. The song that they wrote for this sounds a lot like Rhythm of the Night. That's all I had in my head the whole time. But other than that, good parade, fun parade. And great to have a parade back in DCA.
Yeah, and really cool addition of other characters. In addition to Four Town, it also has May's friends. And also, I think it's her dad dressed as one of the cardboard Red Panda. So there's some really fun details, stuff I didn't catch the first time that I watched a video of it. Obviously, I wasn't there in person. But yeah, I'm glad to have it.
And we should say the giant red panda as well is part of this float.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. Then there is Club Pixar. I think a lot of people were looking very forward to this because this brings some nighttime entertainment back to the Hollywood backlot area in Disney California Adventure. I will say this was cool, but I was a little disappointed by this because I had Mad Tea Party in my mind where now there's already a stage in this area that they use for sometimes for some daytime stuff, but they'd always added a new stage for Mad Tea Party, and there was a live band, and it was much more of, that's called Club Pixar. I would say previous iterations had much more of a club feel to it, but this was still nice. They had some live stage dance numbers, which was cool. It would kind of start with like a clip from a Pixar animated film and then transition into a dance number where it wasn't like Disney characters dancing on stage, but like the wardrobe that the dancers were wearing were definitely like tied into it in some way. So it was pretty nicely done. I liked it. And then there were games to play. There was actually like a drive-in theater. It was a little reminiscent of the sci-fi drive-in restaurant at Disney's Hollywood Studios, where they had like the cars set up and then they had seats to sit in and watch the screen, even though it was only like the back half of the car, but it still looked really cool. And they had some photo ops and characters here. I gotta admit, I kind of like missed the characters until it was too late because they were kind of back hidden in a corner. So I don't know why they decided that. I don't know if it's changed since then, but it was a poor choice, in my opinion, to have them just so kind of hidden here. And of course, specialty food and drinks, including alcohol at Club Pixar.
Of course.
Then over at Disneyland Park during the nighttime, Together Forever, a Pixar nighttime spectacular. And this is a returning show, but it now includes new moments from Onward, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, and Elemental. And it should be noted that if you have a Magic Band Plus, wear it to this nighttime spectacular, as it'll light up and vibrate along with the music there. And yeah, I watched this from Main Street USA. Of course, they encourage folks to watch it over at Rivers of America, as well as It's a Small World. And this is the one where we have like the flying house from Up as part of it, as well as Buzz Lightyear flying as part of it. So it's a fun little nighttime spectacular. Of course, you know, it says most nights fireworks will go off. So it sounds like there are some nights where they schedule them not to go off, and then maybe some nights where, well, a lot of nights where weather affects it as well. But there is like a B mode of this show, so you will see something related to it. But yeah, it's back and it looks great, and that's that for entertainment. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, it was funny seeing people react to this because, you know, they did update stuff, but there was things that people were pointing out that were there before. And it's like, okay, I guess no one really remembers this because it's been a few years. We've been through a lot since then. It's understandable.
Yeah, it's been a while. Now, one of the things that I found really interesting about Pixar Fest was just how there was decor everywhere. From like the moment you stepped on Disneyland Resort through downtown Disney, like there were decorations and all of the flower pots and everything, like walking through downtown Disney. Then when you get to the Esplanade between Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, they have this kind of giant tower celebrating Pixar films. And to me, like the second I saw it, it just reminded me of, you're familiar with Rolly Crump's Tower of the Four Winds? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, so Rolly Crump, legendary Disney Imagineer, and he was, you know, very close with Walt Disney. He created this thing called the Tower of the Four Winds for the 1964-1965 World's Fair. And it was kind of like this giant tower where the winds would move pieces of it and stuff. Now, this wasn't like really, it wasn't in motion, but aesthetically, like the design of it very much reminded me of it. And they have just little nods to a bunch of Pixar films. By the way, since the last Pixar Fest, 7 new Pixar films have been released. Starts with Toy Story 4, ends with Elemental, and everything in between those two. So 7 new films since the last time Pixar Fest came out. I didn't do an official count, but I'm pretty sure all of those are represented in some way, shape, or form during Pixar Fest. So it's a pretty huge celebration. In addition, once you enter the parks, the lamp posts on both Buena Vista Street and Main Street USA are decorated with Pixar Fest decor. I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this red, yellow, blue color combo. I don't know what it is. On the ball, you know, the famous Pixar ball, it doesn't bother me at all. On bunting and stuff, I don't know, it just looks like a circus or a kid's birthday party or like Pride with some colors missing. There's something about it that just doesn't visually work for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, maybe that's partially why they took down the, I don't know if you followed Ribbon Gate, where they had the ribbons when you guys arrived the first day, and then they took them down like halfway. They didn't even wait till the end of the day.
They were up for hours. So listen, I actually really applaud them for this. So if you don't know what we're talking about, over the Esplanade, like between the different posts that are always there, they had like wires running across them and what looked like tassels, colored tassels hanging from them, I guess ribbons or kind of like a cheerleader pom-pom sort of material is what it looked like. And it looked horrendous. I got there in the morning and I was like, whoa, this doesn't look good. And hours later, I walked out of DCA into Disneyland and they were gone. And I was like, good on them for like being willing to take an edit, right? Because I do feel like in a lot of circumstances, a company would look at that and say like, listen, we invested in this. We've already done it. This is staying up for the 2 months or whatever. It reminded me of back during the Disneyland 60th anniversary celebration when they were putting diamonds all over the castle. And each of like the rooftops were made into a giant diamond. And they just looked terrible. They looked like these giant plastic diamonds. And I had the same thought. I was like, these look so bad. I can't believe this is going to be here for the whole celebration. They were gone before the celebration officially began. So I appreciate a good edit when people are willing to do it, because I feel like a lot of times it doesn't happen. But yes, Ribbon Gate, is that what it's being called?
That's what we're calling it. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Gosh, it was funny. I got some pictures of it. Actually, a funny story. I was texting with somebody who works for the company, and I were talking about the Ribbon Gate as they were still up. And I was like, oh yeah, those don't look good. And the hours later, when I walked across the Esplanade and saw they were gone, I took a photo and sent it to this person. It was like, hey, look, they're gone. And then apparently that photo was being shared internally to like let cast members know the ribbons are gone. So I was like, that's kind of funny.
That is funny.
Anywho, with any celebration comes specialty merchandise and food, of course. You know, the merch is the basic stuff. We got the spirit jerseys, the sweatshirts, all that stuff. But bucket hats are part of this. Apparently, bucket hats are back. I guess they have been for a while, but like, I was really into bucket hats as a teenager. Not so much anymore.
Yeah, same here. I had one that I wore specifically. I remember it for the entire week at church camp. That was my look for a week, and then never again.
I think I definitely had an NSYNC bucket hat.
That's the most 90 thing I can think of.
Yeah, I hope I still have that somewhere, because if I do, I might take that out since bucket hats are back. I'm going to go searching for that. That'd be great if I still have it. They're also selling Pixar Fest lug bags, which are like those little kind of hip bags where you can wear them over your shoulder. And they're basically small purses, I guess, for lack of a better term. These are the first at Disneyland Resort. They've been at Walt Disney World for a while, but these Pixar Fest ones are the first ones at Disneyland Resort. And then the medallions are back. If you remember, we had 100 medallions for Disney 100. They have 28 of them for Pixar Fest. It says Pixar Fest on one side. The other side features a film and says its release year on it. And then, of course, popcorn buckets. Got to have them. Alien Pizza Planet truck, as well as a Coco guitar. And if you're a Magic key holder, you can get Doug, the dog from Up. And I did try some of the food. Certainly didn't try all of it. There's a ton of specialty food. But I'm not going to lie, none of it really stood out to me, what I had.
Yeah, but you mentioned Doug. We completely forgot to mention that there's also now a talking Doug that you can meet in the park.
That's true. One of the characters, I believe he hangs out over by Redwood Creek Challenge Trail, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Redwood Creek Doug. Challenge Trail itself is actually closed right now. But so apparently he's just around near there.
So yeah, there's a ton. This is a huge celebration. I'll be curious to see whether or not it comes back next year. I'm really curious why it didn't return in 2019. Can you remember, was there some other celebration happening earlier in the year? Or I guess in the spring of 2019?
What would 2019 be? Who can remember that far back? Yeah, I don't know.
It's not, well, pre-pandemic, who remembers? But it's not an anniversary year or anything. So I don't know. It is interesting to me, though, because it does feel like, I don't know if we've said this before, but it feels like the Disneyland Resort feels like they always need to have a celebration to get people through the gates. And I swear to God, if you just have a Disneyland, Disneyland is enough. Plus, I think we still have Season of the Force happening, don't we?
We do, yeah. So that's mostly in Tomorrowland and Galaxy's Edge. So then the rest of the two parks is taken up by Pixar Fest. It is a little weird to do both at once, but I guess it makes some sense.
All right, so that's happening. Shall we move on?
Are we moving on to something other than Pixar Fest? Because there's something big at Pixar Fest that I feel like you've mixed.
Oh, let's hear it.
The trucks. The 50 trucks that they barely have said a peep about, as far as I've seen. And they're the best thing that I've seen from the Disney parks in a long time.
50 trucks? TRUCKS?
Okay, so you know how the Pixar movies put the Pizza Planet truck as an Easter egg in their films? Disney has made 50 customized things. These are in attractions, in queues, in windows on Main Street, throughout the park. You can go to laughingplace.com and look at a guide of all the ones we've found so far. I think we've found almost all 50. We might be short by like half a dozen. And some of them are really well, like they're all themed. Some of them are really, really well themed. And like I said, they've barely said anything about this. There was a brief mention in the press event, like when they did their whole press thing. But I don't think it's even popped up on like Disney Parks blog. I'm sure it will at some point, at least on social media. But as far as I know, they haven't really promoted this at all. And it's really impressive to me.
Honestly, this is the first I'm hearing of this.
Well, now I know you don't follow Laughing Place on Twitter because you don't go on Twitter. That's the thing. Like, yeah, we've been tweeting them as we find them.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't support Elon Musk.
Look at our top 24, and then the number one article is this guide. And yeah, look at some of these. They're really, really cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I wish that they would make that more. I mean, I kind of like that it's truly an Easter egg, to be honest. I just wish I were aware of it because I would have kept my eyes out. I mean, I saw some in like the decorations on Main Street USA. There was definitely a Pizza Planet truck one. I remember vividly seeing that, but I didn't know that there were like hidden ones. That's kind of awesome.
We were wondering if it was going to be a scavenger hunt or something when we started spotting them a couple days before Pixar Fest kicked off. But as far as I know, there's not an official scavenger hunt. They're just awesome Easter eggs to be found.
Honestly, I hope it's one of those things they kind of keep a secret and then like 2 weeks before the end of Pixar Fest, like push it or something like that. Because I just love that it's a secret. This is kind of awesome. So thank you for bringing it up. No longer a secret between laughingplace.com and Disney Coast to Coast. Everyone will know. All right, are we ready to move on from Pixar Fest now?
I just realized we're gonna ruin it. It's gonna be the Andy's coming of Pixar Fest.
That's what it's gonna be. All righty. Well, guests visiting the Tokyo Disney Resort from July 2nd through September 18th can now look forward to some new and returning ways to beat the summer heat. First of all, I love this story once we get into these details, but I don't ever remember this from the past, so this is like all new to me.
They've done a few of these things before, but this theming, I don't think they've done this combination of everything. It's pretty funny.
The special summertime version of the Country Bear Jamboree, Vacation Jamboree, will return to Tokyo Disneyland for the first time in 5 years. So once again, something returning that was like a thing of the past, but not annual. I kind of like it, to be honest, because when something is annual, you kind of take it for granted. The anticipation isn't as grand. When you don't know if and when it's returning, you stop taking it for granted. So like, once again, like Pixar Fest, this 5 years, that's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I saw this in 2019. Wait, would it have been 2019? I'm pretty sure I saw this, and it's the only time I've seen this version of the show.
That's right. So 5 years ago, once again, would have been 2019. So both this and Pixar Fest were 2019 things. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wait, Pixar Fest was 2018. So this, maybe the budget for Pixar Fest went toward this. Is that what's happening? No, that makes no sense because it's different owners. In addition, 2 water-based attractions, Splash Mountain and Aquatopia, will both be wetter than ever with special get-soaked versions of their regular experiences. I love this. I love water. This makes me think of, I know Jurassic Park The Ride here at Universal Studios Hollywood. They always had, like, or I shouldn't say always, but for many years, had an extra water splash version. And I just think this is so much fun. First of all, I'm questioning, I mean, does it get really, really hot in Tokyo? I am not familiar with their weather. And also, why the hell doesn't Florida do this?
That's a good question, because then they could get those dryers for sale, because you're never going to get... The thing in Florida is, yeah, if you get wet, you're just going to stay wet, because there's so much moisture in the air. Good luck.
Yeah, but in the summer in Florida, you're getting downpoured on every day anyway. Maybe that's why they don't do it. They're like, well, you'll get your afternoon downpour.
Exactly. No, I think Tokyo probably gets pretty hot. I don't think it gets as hot as Florida, and it probably gets kind of humid, but probably not as humid as Florida.
I just think this sounds like so much fun. The returning parade show, Baymax's Mission Cooldown, headlines this summer's Get Soaked program, and more water opportunities await in Get Soaked Toontown. Cast members at both Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea will be equipped with barrels to spray guests with a cooling mist when it's Get Soaked time. I love this. I want to be a cast member shooting people with water.
The photo of this just made me laugh because, yeah, it's like, it almost looks like a pesticide spray.
Yes.
They're spraying kids with. It's fantastic.
Okay, so speaking of that, I literally just yesterday went to see a production of Evil Dead the Musical, and they have the front row, they sell tickets that are like double the price, and it's the splash zone, and you get covered in blood by the end of the show, and there's literally characters on stage with like those pesticide sprays, like you're saying, spraying you down with like red liquid, and it was quite hilarious. As someone who wasn't in the front row, just enjoying watching these people get destroyed, it was quite funny, and that's just kind of what I picture this being. I mean, Baymax shooting you with water and random cast members shooting you with water sounds like a winning piece of entertainment to me.
Yeah. I think it's awesome.
Very cool. Of course, with some special celebrations, you need new menu items to promote cooling the body down, and guests can also pick up some new souvenirs, perfect for the heat wave. I don't know. I'm all about this like summer heat wave celebration thing happening in Tokyo. I want this in the domestic resorts like really badly, especially here in California where we don't have a water park. Come on, soak us down. Let's do it.
Yeah, you just need to make sure that it ends before the sun even starts to go down, because then it's going to be freezing.
I mean, summer nights can be warm here in SoCal, but yes, right now it's still chilly at night, I will say. Very cool. I love this. Very fun. Also happening overseas, Oriental Land Company plans to debut a ride-through attraction based on Disney's Wreck-It Ralph, scheduled to open during fiscal year 2026 or later at Tokyo Disneyland. The attraction will replace Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters in Tomorrowland at Tokyo Disneyland. Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters will close this October, and like Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters, guests will play their way through the ride, which is set within the in-universe video game Sugar Rush. Guests will find that Sugar Rush is being attacked by sugar bugs, glitches created by King Candy, and their help is needed by Ralph and Vanellope to transform them back into cookies and cakes. The Planet M gift shop next to Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters will also close to be rethemed to the Wreck-It Ralph attraction. This is so interesting to me. I mean, I feel like this rumor's actually been in place for a while, not specifically for Tokyo, but for Wreck-It Ralph taking over Buzz Lightyear. But it is fascinating to me because I don't think about Wreck-It Ralph very often. So I'm always curious. I'm like, obviously there's a study somewhere showing Wreck-It Ralph is popular, or else they wouldn't do this.
Yeah, I don't know if I've definitely heard Wreck-It Ralph in Tomorrowland. I don't know if I've necessarily heard about Buzz or if it was Stitch.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. I feel like the Stitch thing as well. I feel like I've heard that. So, yeah, do you think about Wreck-It Ralph? Do you think of that as a popular movie? I guess there were 2 of them. Yeah,
there's a sequel. I think it's one of those kind of like Stitch, where at the time I didn't feel like Lilo and Stitch was a big hit, but it's like just really endured because there's like that kind of quirkiness to it that certain people identify with, and then that group grows. I wonder if it's something like that. But the way that this is described with the bugs and stuff, it actually sounds kind of similar to Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battle, which replaced Buzz Lightyear in Hong Kong. So it's kind of funny that they're kind of picking up on similar themes, but while using a completely different IP. Also, did you ever get a chance to do the Wreck-It Ralph game? What was it? The
Void?
Yes, The Void. Thank you.
I didn't do it. I only did the Star Wars version of The Void.
Okay. I haven't done the Star Wars one. I did the Marvel one, and I did the Wreck-It Ralph. And the Wreck-It Ralph was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah, it's... You know what I've come to realize? I don't think of Disney films as successful classics. I shouldn't say successful. I don't think of them as classics and like everlasting unless they're musicals. That's just how my head works. I don't know if I don't have songs stuck in my head from the movie. I like Zootopia, successful movie, but I don't really think of it as a classic. Wreck-It Ralph, same thing. Lilo and Stitch, similar. I don't know. if there's no music, it just doesn't stay in my head as much. So that's probably just a me thing.
Could be that, or it could be that we're old.
It could be that we're old. That's true too. Yeah, those older musicals I watched over and over and over and over and over again. These I watch them once and I'm like, all right, moving on. Cool. So that's happening. And Cirque du Soleil will be debuting its new page-to-stage signature experience for Drawn to Life at Disney Springs starting on May 24th. This premium behind-the-scenes offering features an intimate look at the show with a backstage tour and artist meet and greet, premium show seating, and collectible merchandise. Highlights of the page-to-stage signature experience include assisted arrival. A page-to-stage host welcomes you to the show, assists with complimentary concessions pickup, including a souvenir popcorn bucket. Of course, a popcorn bucket. It's not a celebration without a popcorn bucket. And escorts you to your premium seating to enjoy the show. Then following the performance, page-to-stage guests will meet with some of the show's talented artists for photos and a Q&A. In the exclusive highlight of the evening, guests will then embark on a backstage and understage tour of Drawn to Life, with the opportunity to get an up-close look at some of the show's intricate costumes and one-of-a-kind props. Exclusive keepsake and shopping discounts, as well as you get a memento of the experience with a Drawn to Life gift bag in addition to a discount. It's limited to 9 guests, and it's offered following the second performance on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Tickets for this experience are $285 for adults, $225 for children, and, it includes the premium seating for performance, and that also includes the taxes and fees, so that's the flat fee for it. This sounds really cool. I mean, it's a pretty hefty price. I can't remember exactly what ticket prices are for Drawn to Life. This sounds like it's at least $100 more than what a normal ticket price would be. But I mean, if you're into live entertainment and theater, this actually sounds really, really, really cool.
Yeah, I've never seen the show. I've only been to a couple of Cirque shows in general. So yeah, I think I'm glad that it exists as an option, but I don't know if it's necessarily for me.
Yeah, I will say the show's really good. I mean, I did a whole episode on it. If you want to hear some behind the scenes of Cirque du Soleil's Drawn to Life, listen to episode 1041, where I spoke with an artistic director from the show as well as a performance artist. I really like the show, and I don't say that about all Cirque du Soleil shows. Like, this is one of 2 Cirque shows that I'm like, I would go back and see this again. Like, I enjoyed it that much. There is something, though, that's in the show, and I'm sure I already know the answer to this question, but I'm a little curious. There was one thing, actually, I think there were 2 things that they said to me pre-interview. We will not talk about these 2 things. Like, we're not giving up the magic of how these are done. So I'm a little curious if they give a little peek behind those curtains during this backstage tour. Probably not, but it would still be interesting to find out. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I didn't think the show was doing super well. So I hope I'm wrong in that sense, but I do feel like this could go one of 2 ways. Like, this is one way of like saving a low ticket sales situation, or it's doing so well that there are people interested enough to buy into this. I don't know which way it is. I hope it's the latter, because I think it's worth sticking around for a while.
Well, it's no NBA experience, at least.
That's true. It is not the NBA experience, thankfully. All right, so that's the news, but I do want to mention, remember several weeks back in the House of Mouse headlines, there was the news about the Star Wars Day Marathon. So on Saturday, May 4th, May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
And select movie theaters, they're showing all 9 Skywalker saga films. And we were like, who the heck would sit through this 24 hours plus? Apparently it's selling really well. It's pretty wild. I mean, obviously there are some diehard Star Wars fans, and it does help that it landed on a Saturday, right? So it's a lot of people's days off.
Yeah, I think so.
That's still really wild to me that it's selling so well. And so I just want to mention that. And also, this segues into an insane experience I had recently. Did you see my photo with Mark Hamill?
I don't know if I did. I'm going to have to look it up now.
Okay, well, it was part of a story, so it's disappeared at this point. But I not only met, but like hung out with Mark Hamill and Rosario Dawson recently.
Okay, I did see this. I remember Rosario more than Mark Hamill. Is that wrong?
In my book it is, but it's okay. They're both lovely people, I'm happy to say. This was such a weird, surreal experience. I got reached out to by I should say this information was forwarded to me. I reached out to them. They reached back out and they invited me. Table Read Podcast. This is a podcast where they typically take scripts that haven't been produced yet, whether it's a movie or a TV series, a TV pilot that hasn't been produced. And they hire, actors, in a lot of cases, famous actors, to do a reading of this script, and they record it and they release it as a podcast. Well, they did something a little bit differently. They were actually doing a reunion reading of a piece of work that was produced. It was a 1985 horror film called Fright Night, neither of which Mark Hamill nor Rosario Dawson are in. But most everybody else was there. It was like original cast members, including Chris Sarandon, known for The Princess Bride, and the voice of Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas. But in any case, Mark Hamill was filling in for the late Roddy McDowall, and Rosario Dawson is apparently just a big fan of this film, and she kind of read some ancillary roles. But I was just sitting in the recording studio with them as they read this thing, me and a few other reporters, media people. It was a very small group. And we all just hung out and chatted between, during breaks and lunch and stuff. It was crazy, man. And they were both awesome people. Everybody was awesome, to be completely honest. It was wild. So I have met Disney legend Mark Hamill.
That's very cool.
I did not ask him to come on this podcast, but maybe sometime.
Maybe sometime. And I mean, if you ever have a DC one, you can get the Joker as well.
There we go. Yeah, he likes to talk, I'll tell you that. He was one of those people that I was trying to keep it short because we were breaking for lunch and I didn't want to take too much of his time. And he just kept going and going. I was like, cool, man, you do you. I love this. This is awesome. This is not a typical Saturday for me. So it was so wild. But any crazy or just fun Disney stuff happening in your world?
Not necessarily in my world. Did you happen to see the Star Wars night drone show from the Angels game?
No. That's here in California, right?
Yeah, Mike Celestino covered that as well. 800 drones, some really cool stuff. I mean, I know we get sick of talking about drones and how the cool things they can do, but every time they look awesome. So if you can look that up on our YouTube.
I am not sick of talking about drones, and it kind of pisses me off to know that here in Southern California, some drones were flown, but not at the Disneyland Resort.
Nope, they were a couple miles away.
Do you think they'll have a drone show during the D23 Angels game?
That seems like an increasing possibility now that you mention it.
Is it daytime or nighttime? Do you happen to know?
The game? That's a great question.
Yeah.
That would be contingent because, doing it during the day would not be very impressive.
Yeah, and that's summertime, so it's doesn't get dark till 8:30 here, so I don't know. Very interesting. Anywho, before we go, I just want to play something that I thought was super cute because my niece and nephew recently watched, they're 5 years old and 7 years old, and they recently watched the 1950 Walt Disney masterpiece Cinderella for the first time. And I just want to play you their little review and thoughts on Cinderella. The first voice that you'll hear is my brother's, followed by my niece and nephew.
What'd you think?
It was kind of good.
Kinda good?
Yeah. Let's put things in Chloe.
What'd you think, Gabe?
It was kind of good.
You enjoyed it? What'd you enjoy about it? Did you like the mice?
Did you like the part where the cat was about to eat the mice? I like how she gets caught so much. When she's almost gonna get caught.
What about you, Ellie? What'd you like?
I like the part where she kisses. Ew, no. That's my part.
Did you like the dress?
Yeah. That's why I want my niece to sell me a costume like that.
Oh.
Alrighty, Kyle, that's going to do it for this week, but I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks when there's more Disney news to report on. Sound good?
Sounds good. Happy birthday, Disney's Hollywood Studios.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of all of the celebrating happening as part of Pixar Fest? Do you have any favorites? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569 and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app where episodes are available 24/7. Thanks to Cap and Haddock for leaving a 5-star rating and review saying, "This podcast is awesome. Great interviews, great guests, great host. Check it out. Great big beautiful podcast." Well, thank you for that. Leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast and you may just hear it read on a future episode. Until next time, anything you need can be found in this episode's description. From additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, contact info to reach me, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!